Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to another interesting tutorial. If you are seeing this video, please click on the like button. If you are new to my channel, you are welcome to Vivian Bernard's sewing tutorial. Consider subscribing to this channel if you've not. Also click on the notification bell to get notified each time I post new video. We'll be learning how to draft a corset with yoke in this video. This video is well detailed, so relax and watch till the end. Alright, let's get started. So in this tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft a corset with a yoke. So for this tutorial, the pattern that we are going to be using is our full scale bodice. Okay, so I have a full detailed tutorial on how to draft a full scale bodice. Okay, so if you don't know how to draft a full scale bodice yet, especially this one I'm using here, you should check it out on the description box. I will link it down below. Okay, yeah, and the full scale bodice I have here, I didn't add seam allowance at the side. Okay, this is just our measurements. So the first thing to do is to identify my bust circle. Okay, so this is how to identify your bust circle. You are going to measure whatever you have from the bust point to the bust radius. So I have 3.5, right? So I'm going to mark 3.5 all around. So this bust circle will help us in creating our style lines. Okay, marking out this bust circle will make you know if whatever design that you are, whatever line you are marking, if it's going to reveal your bust, because this bust circle is simply showing us where our bust is on our dress. Okay, or on our pattern. So I'm marking my bust radius round. Okay, so marking your bust radius round will enable you know where your bust is located on your pattern. So any style line you are drawing, it's going to help you know if your bust is going to reveal or if it's going to enclose your bust. Okay, so the next thing I want to do after drawing the bust circle is to contour my underbust. Okay, so this is a basic bodice pattern. Okay, so you can see it only has a basic dart and not a contoured dart. Okay, so now to do the underbust contouring is simply getting your underbust measurement. So my underbust measurement is 30, then you divide it by 4. I have 7.5. so I'm going to measure whatever I have from this point to this point and from this point to this point, excluding the darts. Okay, so when I add it together, whatever I have, I'm going to minus it from this, and whatever it is that I have, that is what I'm going to be removing here. Okay, let's get started. So the formula to do your underbust contouring is simply your underbust circumference minus your pattern underbust. Okay, this is simply what I'm saying. So I'm going to measure whatever I have from this point to this dart leg. I have 3 inches, right? So I'm going to skip this dart and I will continue from this point to this point. So altogether, all I have here is 8 inches, right? So I have 3 inches. I have 3 inches from this point to this point, and I have 5 inches from this point to this point, right? So this one here is my pattern underbust. I have 8 inches as my pattern underbust, and for my natural underbust, which is the one that you are going to measure around your underbust, I have 30. So you are going to divide it by 4. You have 7.5. Now 7.5 minus 8 inches, what we have from here and from here to here. So we have 0.5. So that means that we are taking away 0.5 on our underbust line. So what I'm going to do is to mark 0.3 here, and I will mark 0.1 here, giving us a total of 0.5. So the greater portion, you are always going to be marking it at the side front, okay, while the smaller portion at the center front. That is how it always is. So I'm going to connect it this way. So if I connect this, I will connect it back to this line. So can you see how I connect it? Then this I'm going to connect it to. And I'll connect it back to our dart line. So that way we have contoured our underbust, okay? So this is the excesses that we removed from the underbust, so that it will give us that clinging effect. So it's very simple to contour your underbust. You are just going to divide your natural underbust, that measurement which you measured round your underbust, you are going to divide it by 4, and whatever answer you have, you are going to keep it like this, and you are going to measure whatever you have from here to here and from here to here, and minus it from whatever you got. Whatever excess you have, that is what you are going to mark here, and just do it the same way. So I hope it's very simple and you understand. So the next thing I'm going to do is to find the midpoint of this shoulder line, then I will connect it down to the bust point. So I have 428 here, 4.25, and I'll get the midpoint, then I'll simply connect it back to the bust point. After connecting this line, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark our neckline, okay? So I want to mark the neckline of this corset. You know what we want to sew here? What we are drafting here is a corset with a yoke, right? So I want to determine how low this corset is going to be, okay? So now from my bust circle, I'm going to come down by 1.5. So if you don't want this, if you don't want your corset to be that low, you are just going to come down by half or by 1 inch, okay? But if you are sewing a corset with yoke, you are going to try as much as possible to make sure that whatever yoke that is left, you can join it, okay? So whatever thing that you are drafting, you also consider the sewing part, how easy it's going to be for you, okay? So for me, I'm going to come down by 1.5 from my bust circle, okay? And that is how low I want the corset to be. So if you don't want it that low, you can just come down by 1 inch from your bust circle on this line, okay? Having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark ½ inch on both sides. So from that line, I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides of the line. So this ½ inch I'm marking on both sides of the line is just to give it that clinging effect, okay, at the upper area. It's just like tightening the upper bust area. So after marking the ½ inch on both sides, I'm just going to connect it back to our bust points. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the bust point line. I'm going to come out by 1/2 inch like this, and from that point I'm going to go up by 1 inch. So I'll square it up. So once I square it up, I'm going to get my curve ruler and I'll connect from this point all the way to this point. Can you see where we are going to connect it? So after connecting it, we are just going to connect this point to this point. Okay. So for this part, I'm just going to, from the armhole, I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches. Okay. So when I mark it, I'm going to connect the neckline. Can you see how I'm placing my curve ruler from this point to this point? You mark it. And for me to mark this one here, I'm going to close the bust back like this, so that there will not be any gap. Okay, because if I mark it this way, these two lines might not rhyme, so I will have to close the bust that here so that I can mark the curve. So make sure you close your bust that, and you are going to place your curve ruler and connect it like so. So can you see that? So let me just trace that line. So this is how the line is going to be. So imagine if I marked it straight, that means if I close the bust that, it might not align. So that is the main reason why you should close your bust that and you carefully mark the curve line on that side. Can you see that? So looking at this pattern alone, you can see our yoke and you can see our corset already created here. Okay, so let's assume that you are sewing a gown. That means you are going to trace and stop all the way here. Okay, so for the back, what you want to do is to determine where you want the yoke to start from. Okay, so I'm just going to mark 1 inch from the bust line upward, and I'm going to connect it back to the bust line. Okay, like this. So once you mark it, you are just going to extend this line to meet up this part. So another thing for you to do is to determine how you want the yoke at the back to be. If you want the zip to extend up to the neckline, that means you are going to leave this one just like it is. Okay, but if you want the zip to just stop somewhere here, or maybe you are not putting zip and you are putting loop, you want it to stop somewhere here, what you are just going to do is to give it a V neckline. So maybe you want a V neckline, you want the loop that you want to attach to stop here, you can just give it a V neckline. Okay, if you want to put a zip, then that means your zip is going to stop here. But let's assume that you want to put a loop at the back, right? So you are just going to come to the chest line and you are minusing 2 inches according to how open you want it to be. And at the waistline, I'm going to mark 1.5, then I will connect it like this. So once you mark it, that means your loop or your eyelet is going to stay here. If you want eyelet, this is where your eyelet is going to stay. Okay, and here is just going out. So if you want a loop, that means your loop is going to be staying here. Can you see that? And that means if you still want a V neckline, that means your V neckline is going to be stopping here, okay? And that is very, very simple. So can you see how the back is? So in order to trace the front, okay, we've come to the tracing part. In order to trace the front, the first thing you are going to trace is the yoke part, okay? The yoke part is the first thing that you are going to trace. So this is your yoke. Your yoke is starting from here. So you are going to ignore this opening and you are going to trace all the way from here and here. So once you trace it, you are going to add ½ seam allowance at the neckline, at the shoulder line, armhole line, and also at the inseam line where you are going to join to your corset part, okay? So after that, the next thing you are going to trace is the center front, okay? The center front is number 2. So it's starting all the way from here and here, okay? So the number 3 is one part of your corset, okay? This part of your corset. So you are tracing all the way from here, 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 and here. So once you trace it, you make sure that you determine the upper part, okay? And the place that is facing the center front, okay? Center front side, so you don't misplace it. So once you trace it, you are going to add ½ seam allowance all round. So number 4 is this, okay? So before you trace this part of the corset, always remember to close your bust dart, okay? So once you close your bust dart, you are going to trace all the way from here, 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 and here. So once you trace it, you also determine the upper part and the bust points part, okay? So you don't misplace that. You add your ½ seam allowance all round. So after tracing it, the next you are going to trace is the side front, which is number 5, okay? So you are also going to trace all the way like this and all the way like this. So we are assuming that this is the upper bodice, that you are fixing it on a skirt to form a gown, okay? That's it. So after tracing this, you go over to the back. For the back, we have number 1, 2, and 3, okay? So what you have to do is to trace number 1, which is the yoke part at the back. So when you trace it, you are going to add ½ seam allowance all round, okay? So for the yoke part, if you are doubling your yoke, you are going to add ½ seam allowance all round, okay? But if you are not doubling your yoke, that the yoke you are using is an original yoke, the net that you are going to use as the yoke is original yoke. You don't have to double it, okay? So that means when you trace it, you are not adding seam allowance here and here. You are only adding here and here, okay? But I know you guys already know this. So for number 2, you are going to trace all the way, and you are going to add 1 inch seam allowance at the side seam, at the inseam you are going to add half inch, and half inch. So number 3, you are tracing all the way from here. Okay, that is if you want to add your eyelet or your loop. But if you are adding zip, that means you are tracing here. I think I've explained that before. Okay, so let's go to the tracing part so you see how we do this. Tracing out, you can see how we traced everything out. It's very understandable. This is what we have. So this is our front part and this is our back part. This is the yoke for the front, You can see the center front here. This is the side front. This is the corset itself. This one you are going to use it to cover your bra cup. Can you see how it is? So this is the back yoke, this is the side back, and this is the center back. Okay, because we wanted to add an eyelet or a loop, that is why this is small. I hope you understand in our tutorial. Okay, so if you've watched up to this level and you've not liked this video, you've not subscribed, please kindly do so. It will really mean a lot to me. So guys, we've come to the end of this tutorial. If you have any question, or if you like to see the sewing part of this tutorial, you should comment yes on the comment section. Okay, and I will know that you guys would like to see the sewing part of this tutorial. Okay guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.